Hello everyone, how's it going? In this video, we're going to be talking about Faraday Future, trading under the ticker symbol FFIE. So, over the past few days, FFIE went up from 19 cents to around 27 cents. And right now, the closest support is around 25 cents, followed by the 21 cents level. Over the past month, the support has been tested around 3 times. And over the past 6 months, it's been tested for about 7 times. FFIE has been under tremendous amount of sell-off pressure from August 21st, 2021 and onward, not only because the macroeconomic context has been very challenging, but at the same time, let's be honest, the market has always been skeptical and half amused by what this company tries to do. FFIE is an offspring of a highly leveraged online video platform with cell phone manufacturing and retail interests as well. They were looking to raise funds or to make money in order to pay back those debts. The idea then matured, of course, in the right time, but it only managed to catch the tail end of the 2020 EV craze. The shareholders in this case are mostly retail and they tend to come in and out very, very quickly. Now, I want to say a few words regarding the context in which FFIE was eventually conceptualized. The idea is there's a lot of money to be made in that area because of the subsidies and because at some point enough people will believe that the world will belong to the EVs. Right? So this is the main reason why FFIE has been a thing. Or has been a thing in some people's mind. In the same era, many other companies, very often unrelated to car manufacturing in the beginning, have decided to shift their attention to the EV sector as well. Partially because, of course, the regulatory pressures and changes have made many countries around the world announce that they will stop selling combustion engine cars in about a decade. Of course, you can buy hybrids, but are they really that efficient? Right? So these are real questions to be asked. And the market would believe that one of the possible scenarios that's going to be emanating from the whole ordeal is that certain companies are going to benefit from this change because the demand will remain there. It might shift away, it might shrink a little bit, but there will be a certain demand that is expected to change hands. They're going to go from traditional manufacturers to other manufacturers, or they're going to go from some manufacturers to others, because their EV cars are better. So in this context, a lot of people believe that, just by selling electric vehicles, you're going to be golden, you're going to be future-proof. Doesn't mean that this is necessarily going to happen. Who knows? For example, the movie, of course, that's a quirky example, but if we think about it, it does carry some weight. When we look at sci-fi movies back in the 70s, some of these sci-fi movies are talking about this year, in the 2020s. We're going to be flying around in spacecrafts. We're going to be having robot servants. Are we approaching this scenario? Yes, but at a much, much slower pace. So the mass adoption of EV is something that we can see happening, yes. Doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to be as fast as some may hope. I'm not sure. Does it also mean that, we're going to be having this technology as the standalone monolithic solution to our transportation needs? I don't think so either. So there are fallbacks ahead of us. There are uncertainties ahead of us. But what we can say for sure, or with almost 100% certainty is that something is bound to change. And at least for a time being, the market believed that companies like Lucid, like Neo, like Tesla, they're going to make it. And their historic stock price is here to prove that state of mind, being real for at least a couple of years. It's no longer the case, but can it come back? I think that in order for this to happen, we need to see, I would say that we need to see the stock markets to benefit from a massive injection of capital. And for that, the interest rates have to come down, right? So that's I think the basic requirements. Now, the other things that we have to talk about are the company-specific things. FFIE, for the time being, is not considered as an investment by most people's standards. And we shouldn't really be surprised. I mean, we just have to take a deep look at it, and we would reach the same conclusion, right? However, FFIE seems to be a volatile title. It seems to be one of those titles that a lot of people are speculating about, and that can have a lot of percentage-wise volatilities in a short period of time, just because the volume, well, even though it's a lot of shares, but in terms of money transferred, it's relatively low. So this is why I believe that FFIE is a good stock to speculate around. It's a good stock to, how can I put this? It's a good stock to trade in and out in order to expect handsome returns to be made. Doesn't mean that it's made for everyone, absolutely not. But at the same time, I think that it's going to be worth your time if the exposure is controlled. I think that it's going to be worth your time if you believe that EV is going to be popular once again, once the equity market becomes less abandoned than now. So doesn't mean that within a few years we're going to be seeing a very different kind of business macroeconomics environment. It's possible, but we would have to be patient in that case. In the meantime, like so far I was talking about the long term, but in the meantime, we can play the ups and downs of FFIE just because it's a volatile penny stock, right? The volume of FFIE has been around 115 million shares. That's a lot of people slushing FFIE shares around. So the overall profile of FFIE has always attracted a more volatile shareholder base as more people tend to trade in and out of these positions. A significant amount of noise in the stock should be expected. Now, there might not be a clear trend identified just yet because we seem to have interrupted a clear downward trend. But when it does start to form a new trend, I think that it's going to be worth our while to have some exposure in this stock. Okay? The price action puts its emphasis on the relative downtrend as the liquidity is still being squeezed out of FFIE in order to pay for their ongoing operative costs. So overall, I would say that my recommendation for FFIE is to buy it as a speculative position for the short-term trading and to hold it for about a few weeks to see if things have calmed down or picked up, depending on your perspective, I guess. The profit taking should be around 50 cents and the maximum exposure should be around 1% of your portfolio's capital.